throughout history, humans used to rely on each other for survival. But nowadays, everything has turned upside down. Career, finance, future, or mental health, everything you have to deal with yourself. And Gen Z, they feel it the most, in a generation where you have to deal with a bunch of things by yourself with no guidance, no blueprint, just you yourself. It becomes harder and harder when you have to do everything simultaneously. Like, I have to find the meaning of my life. I have to try to build my future. I have to deal with my mental health. Like, damn, man, it has never been this hard. Because, like, those previous generations, at least, they can rely on institutions. If they go to university, okay, then they would have a stable job, and maybe some of them they would get some inheritance from their parents, right? But now, most of parents they also can't afford, to live their lives. I'm not trying to, diss them, but it is hard for them to adapt with modern world with AI, advancement in. I myself, I also find it hard. Like, if you are not in the field that the modern world is like requiring, then you are going to be, in some of like low paid jobs, and those low paid jobs is not even enough for paying rent, your food in general. Like, bro, how am I gonna survive after this, and for some of you guys who might not know me, I'm Zeke, and next year I'm going to be a senior in my university, and I'm already thinking about, you know, job application. Nowadays, literally, those HR, right? They, check your resumes with AI, but if you use AI yourself, like if you use AI to write your resume, and then if they find out, they're gonna accept you, like, bro, this is so ironic. You can use AI, but I can't. What even is this? Like, independence is a necessity, yet it is so hard to be independent. You know, you understand that, okay, I have to be independent, but, when I'm trying, like, trying is not like enough. I feel like I have to do more. Like, but what can I do with my current circumstances? You get what I mean? Like, whenever I'm dealing with an emotional breakdown or some sort of depression, the only person whom I can rely on is myself. Like, nobody can help me. Like, even if I want them to help me, but they can't even help themselves. Like, they're also trying to figure their lives out, and I completely get it. Like, I'm responsible for my life. But it is almost unbearable, when you carry everything alone, society forces you to become stronger and independent. Otherwise, you would have nothing left. Of course, like, if you have some friends, maybe you would still be fine, but like, eventually, once, they fade away, you can have nothing left. That's why it is no longer a choice, but a requirement for survival. And even if we're trying to, build our inner strength and mindset, it's still not enough. Like, literally, you have to build skills, you have to deal with your mental health, and also you're trying to balance your relationships. Like, bro, I don't have like 48 hours in a day to manage all of them. Like, so as a result, it becomes extremely stressful and depressing, when you have to think about all of them every single day. And I don't blame people who committed suicide at all, because, man, like, it is really hard to bear it, you know. And nowadays, like, many people they're experiencing depression, at least once in their lifetime, even though without like diagnosis, before asking how should I live my life, what I can ask now is how am I gonna survive tomorrow? Like nowadays, literally, I have only two meals. You know, back then, when I would still go to the gym, I have four because like I don't prioritize like my money. I just spend, spend, spend. But now I'm trying to save more money so that I can have like a better future. Trying to invest more, right? Like literally, the economic is really bad. Every single job they will require you to have like a few years of experiences and it must be related, otherwise they're not gonna accept you. But bro, how am I gonna have like a few years of experiences when you know I just graduate? Like think about it. A lot of the time you would be called selfish because when others ask you for help but you refuse to help them, it's not because you're selfish, but because you can't even help yourself. How do you be able to help them? You get what I mean? Like, bro, I have not figured anything out in my life. Like, how do you expect me to help you, bro? Like, I also want to help you, but I can't even help myself. Every single day, I don't sleep well anymore. When I go to bed, I think what I'm gonna do tomorrow. When I wake up, I'm thinking what am I gonna do today in order to improve myself so that I can have a brighter future. Like, man, society like forces me to work harder in my 20s. I'm 20 years old if you don't know, like, and I've been like this self improvement journey for almost 4 years. I don't think that people would be spiritually awake this early. And the reason why I was like that it is because that I know what is coming in the future. So I need to prepare myself in order to survive. Because the world is not kind, to you. And you know that the government, they don't give any damn shit about you at all. What they do is corruption and trying to give you some like fake policies that we're gonna do one, two, three, so that wages would be higher whatsoever. But once they're elected, they've done none of that. Like, bro. So I think you should not like try to be, extremely radical on politics at all. Just don't expect them to help you because they don't care about you and they just make money out of you, from taxes. And I myself, I have a collectivist family, where they prioritize harmony. But since I've been exposed to social media and I kind of understand, how the world is going to treat you, so I became more independent and individualistic. So I have no choice, but I kind of distance myself from everyone because I don't want to cling on anything and rely on anyone in my life because I want to stand on my own. Not because I actually wanted to in the first place, but it is because that is how society, wants you to be in order to survive. Because if we don't do that, then brother, you're gonna have nothing left. Seriously, they're gonna destroy you. With the economic pressure, you're going to be vanished if you do nothing to yourself. That's why like I need to improve so many things all at once. And I can't even have friends, because in order to maintain like a bunch of relationships simultaneously, it requires effort and time. But by doing so, it means that you also have to sacrifice like some things, maybe like, your effort that you could have put into work. Of course, like I'm not saying that, it is impossible to balance things at the same time. Of course, it is possible, but I just prioritize my future more. So that's why I choose, not to have anyone at all and just myself alone on this journey. Of course, like there gonna be sometimes that, I have to deal with my emotion, when nothing like goes my way and things go south, it's gonna be hard. And when you look around, it was no one there. It just you. That's it. The tragedy of independence. You become a product of society demand. Because if you don't comply, then it is going to destroy you and eat you alive. So you have no choice but to get stronger in trying to figure everything out yourself. You know, you need to be better at every single thing. Like, it is no longer a choice anymore, or, that you can just like maximize a couple of skills and then it'll be fine. But no, nowadays it is the opposite. You have to be the best at every single thing. Otherwise, you would have no place in this world. Like, seriously, I'm also afraid that when I take it quite far, and then when I look back, I would forget who I actually was and who I have become is just a product of society demand. And I just don't remember who I was anymore. It is really, frightening when you think about it. Nonetheless, I think philosophy is really a good solution, because it gives you like methods how to, you know, be comfortable in solitude and just trying to understand yourself more so that you will not be devoured by the crowd in society. I think it is really like a good thing that people should, at least try to read like a couple of philosophy books. Okay, I think it is quite long already. So thanks you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and see you in the next video.